I feel my heart lurch as I spot Sienna across the trendy restaurant, openly flirting with my husband Derek. She leans in close, trailing a manicured finger down his arm, her ruby lips curled in a seductive smile. Derek shifts uncomfortably, but doesn't pull away. The sight makes me physically ill. I grip the edge of our table, knuckles turning white, as a wave of nausea hits me. It's been over a decade since Sienna and I were best friends in college, but seeing her again brings all the painful memories rushing back in vivid detail. "Honey, are you okay?" Derek asks, noticing my distress as he returns to our table. "You look like you've seen a ghost." I need some air," I manage to choke out, grabbing my purse and fleeing the suffocating restaurant before he can stop me. Outside, I gulp in deep breaths of the cool night air, trying to steady myself against the brick wall. But I can't stop shaking. Post-traumatic stress, my therapist called it. The betrayal that forever shattered my ability to trust. Sienna had been my closest confidant, despite our contrasting personalities. She was the wild, popular sorority girl who brought me out of my shy, studious shell. I admired her boldness, her devil-may-care spirit, but I never imagined she would seduce my fiancé Jason just weeks before our wedding. "Ava, wait." Derek appears at my side, his brow furrowed with concern. "What's going on? Who was that woman?" "No one," I lie instinctively. I never told Derek about Sienna or Jason. How could I? The shame and humiliation are still too raw, even after all these years. I just felt suddenly sick. Maybe it was something I ate. Derek frowns, unconvinced, but wraps a comforting arm around my shoulders. "Let's go home. I'll make you some tea and we can relax." I nod weakly, letting him guide me to the car. But as we drive away, I can't help glancing back at the restaurant, half expecting to see Sienna smirking after us. The uneasy feeling in my stomach intensifies. Why has she resurfaced in my life now, after disappearing without a trace following her ultimate betrayal? The last I heard, she had gotten pregnant, supposedly with Jason's baby, though a small, bitter part of me always suspected that was just another of her manipulations. Jason broke up with me to do the right thing. But Sienna vanished soon after, leaving both of us shattered. She never even apologized to me or offered any compensation to my family for the wedding expenses. My parents were livid. I squeeze my eyes shut, trying to block out the memories threatening to consume me. I can't let Sienna's toxicity poison my life again. I have a loving husband, an adorable son, a beautiful home. I won't let her take that from me. But even as I try to reassure myself, a sinking feeling tells me this is only the beginning. Sienna is back for a reason, and when she sets her sights on something, or someone, she won't stop until she gets it. The next morning, I wake up groggy and unsettled, Sienna's unexpected reappearance still weighing heavily on my mind. As I go about my usual routine, getting my son ready for school, tidying up the house, I can't shake the sense of foreboding that clings to me like a shadow. Memories of my college days with Sienna keep intruding, no matter how much I try to push them away. We were an unlikely pair, the studious introvert and the wild party girl, but somehow we just clicked. She brought excitement and spontaneity into my predictable life, and I grounded her with my responsible nature. At least, that's what I thought. Looking back, I realize how one-sided our friendship really was. Sienna was always the center of attention, basking in the adoration of everyone around her. She thrived on drama and chaos, leaving a trail of broken hearts wherever she went. I was no exception. Anytime a guy showed the slightest interest in me, Sienna would swoop in with her irresistible charm and steal him away. She couldn't stand the thought of being overshadowed, even by her supposed best friend. Jason was the first guy who ever made me feel truly special. He saw past my shy exterior and appreciated my intelligence and kindness. When he proposed after graduation, I thought my fairy tale ending had finally come. But Sienna couldn't let me have my happily ever after. The night of my bachelorette party, she pulled me aside, her eyes glinting with malice. "I have a confession to make," she slurred, champagne sloshing in her glass. "Jason and I have been sleeping together for months. He's only marrying you out of pity." I stared at her in shock, bile rising in my throat. "You're lying. Jason would never cheat on me, especially not with my best friend." Sienna laughed, a cruel, mocking sound. "Oh, sweet, naive Ava, you really thought he loved you? He's been mine all along, and now I'm pregnant with his baby." The room spun around me as her words sank in. I wanted to scream, to lash out at her, but I was paralyzed by the depth of her betrayal. She watched me crumple with a smug satisfaction, taking a long sip of her drink. "Don't worry, I'll let you keep the wedding gifts. Consider it a consolation prize." With that, she sauntered away, leaving me to pick up the shattered pieces of my life. Jason confirmed her story the next day, his face twisted with guilt and shame. He left to do the right thing by Sienna, while I drowned in despair. I snap back to the present as my phone chimes with a text message. It's from an unknown number, but the words make my blood run cold. "Long time no see, bestie. Hubby's quite the catch. I see I trained you well. Let's catch up soon, for old time's sake. Soxo S." A strangled sob escapes my throat. Even after all these years, Sienna still knows exactly how to get under my skin. She sees my marriage as just another thing to take away from me, another way to prove her power. But I'm not the same naive, trusting girl I was back then. I've survived her cruelty before, and I'll do it again. I won't let her destroy the life I've built with Derek. I take a deep breath and delete the message, my finger hovering over the block button. It's time to cut Sienna out of my life for good before she can inflict any more damage. I won't be her victim again. The memories of Sienna's betrayal continue to haunt me as I go through the motions of my daily life. I find myself constantly looking over my shoulder, half expecting to see her smug face lurking around every corner. Derek notices my increasing anxiety and tries to comfort me, but I can't bring myself to tell him the truth about my past. The shame and humiliation are still too fresh, even after all these years. Instead, I throw myself into wedding planning with Jason, determined to focus on our future together. We've been dating since sophomore year of college, and I know he's the one I want to spend the rest of my life with. But Sienna seems determined to sabotage my happiness at every turn. She starts showing up everywhere Jason and I go, always with a sly smile and a cutting remark. "Ava, darling, that dress does nothing for your figure," she purrs at my bridal shower, eyeing my white sundress with disdain. "But I suppose it doesn't matter. We both know Jason's not marrying you for your looks." I feel my face flush with anger and embarrassment as the other guests titter uncomfortably. Sienna just smirks, taking a sip of her mimosa. Later, as I'm opening gifts, she pulls me aside, her grip on my arm uncomfortably tight. "I have a special surprise for you," she whispers, her breath hot against my ear. "Meet me in the bathroom in 5 minutes." Against my better judgment, I follow her, my heart pounding in my chest. When I enter the bathroom, Sienna is perched on the counter, her legs crossed seductively. "I've been sleeping with Jason," she says casually, examining her perfectly manicured nails, "for months now. He says I'm the best he's ever had." I feel like I've been punched in the gut. "You're lying," I manage to choke out, tears blurring my vision. "Jason would never cheat on me, especially not with you." Sienna just laughs, a cruel, mocking sound. "Oh, Ava, you're so naive. Men always want what they can't have, and let's face it, you're not exactly a challenge." She hops off the counter and saunters towards me, her hips swaying. "But don't worry, I'll take good care of him. And the baby, of course." My world comes crashing down around me as the realization hits. "You're pregnant?" I whisper, my voice cracking. Sienna just smiles, patting her flat stomach. "Surprise! Jason's going to make such a good daddy, don't you think?" I flee the bathroom, my chest heaving with sobs. I confront Jason that night, praying that it's all just a cruel joke. But the guilt on his face tells me everything I need to know. "I'm so sorry, Ava," he says, refusing to meet my eyes. "It was a mistake, but I have to do the right thing. Sienna and the baby need me." I watch numbly as he packs his things, my entire future unraveling before my eyes. The next few weeks pass in a blur of pain and humiliation as I cancel the wedding and return the gifts, my dreams of happily ever after shattered beyond repair. Sienna disappears soon after, leaving me to pick up the pieces of my broken life. I don't hear from her again, not even an apology or an offer to pay back my parents for the wedding expenses. But I can't escape the memory of her smug smile as she destroyed everything I held dear. It's a look that will haunt me for years to come, fueling the bitter flames of resentment and betrayal that smolder in my heart. I vow to myself that someday, somehow, I'll make Sienna pay for what she did to me. I don't know how or when, but I won't rest until I've had my revenge. In the aftermath of Sienna's betrayal, I find myself spiraling into a deep depression. I can barely get out of bed most days, let alone face the pitying looks and whispered gossip of my friends and family. My parents are beside themselves with worry. They've always been my biggest supporters, and seeing me so broken and defeated is more than they can bear. "Ava, sweetheart, you can't let this destroy you," my mother pleads, smoothing my unwashed hair back from my face. "Sienna's not worth it. You have to pick yourself up and move on." But moving on feels impossible when everywhere I turn, I'm reminded of what I've lost. The future I thought I had with Jason, the best friend I trusted with my deepest secrets, the sense of self-worth that Sienna so cruelly shattered. Weeks turn into months, and still I struggle to pull myself out of the darkness. My parents grow increasingly desperate, afraid that I'll never recover from this blow. Finally, my father takes matters into his own hands. "I've made an appointment for you with a matchmaker," he tells me one evening, his tone brooking no argument. "It's time for you to start living your life again, Ava. You can't let Sienna win." I want to protest, to tell him that the last thing I need right now is another man in my life. But the determination in his eyes stops me short. I know he's only trying to help, in his own misguided way. So I go to the appointment, dragging myself through the motions of small talk and forced smiles. The matchmaker, a stern-looking woman in her 50s, eyes me critically. "You're a pretty girl, Ava," she says, tapping her pen against her notepad. "But you're not getting any younger. If you want to find a husband, you need to put in the effort." I bristle at her condescending tone, but I know she's right. I've let myself go in the months since Sienna's betrayal, too lost in my own misery to care about my appearance or my future. So I throw myself into the process, attending every event and mixer the matchmaker suggests. I force myself to smile and flirt, even when all I want to do is crawl back into bed and hide from the world. And then, one night, I meet Derek. He's older than me, a successful surgeon with a kind smile and a gentle demeanor. He listens attentively as I talk about my job as a teacher, my love of reading, my dreams of traveling the world. For the first time in months, I feel a spark of something other than despair. Derek makes me laugh, makes me feel valued and appreciated in a way I haven't felt in so long. We start dating, taking things slow at first. Derek is patient and understanding, never pushing me for more than I'm ready to give. Gradually, I start to heal, to believe that maybe happiness is possible for me after all. When Derek proposes a year later, I don't hesitate to say yes. Standing at the altar on our wedding day, surrounded by the love and support of my family and friends, I feel a sense of peace wash over me. I know that Sienna's betrayal will always be a part of my story, a scar that I'll carry with me for the rest of my life. But I refuse to let it define me any longer. As Derek and I exchange vows, promising to love and cherish each other for better or for worse, I feel a weight lift from my shoulders. I'm ready to start this new chapter of my life, to build a future with the man I love. And if Sienna ever dares to show her face again, I'll be ready. I'm not the same naive, trusting girl she destroyed all those years ago. I'm stronger now, and I won't let her hurt me or the people I love ever again. The first few years of my marriage to Derek are blissfully happy. We settle into a comfortable routine, enjoying quiet evenings at home and lazy Sunday mornings in bed. When I discover I'm pregnant, we're both overjoyed. Our son Liam is born on a sunny spring morning, healthy and perfect in every way. As I hold him in my arms for the first time, I feel a fierce surge of love and protectiveness. I vow to always keep him safe, to shield him from the kind of pain and betrayal I endured. When Derek gets a job offer at a prestigious hospital in another city, we decide to make the move. It's a fresh start for our little family, a chance to leave the ghosts of my past behind. But fate, it seems, has other plans. We've barely settled into our new home when I spot a familiar face at the hospital's annual fundraiser. Sienna, looking as glamorous and conniving as ever, is draped over the arm of one of Derek's colleagues. I feel a rush of panic, my old wounds reopening at the sight of her. Derek, sensing my distress, squeezes my hand reassuringly. "Is everything okay, love?" he murmurs, his brow furrowed with concern. Before I can respond, Sienna catches sight of us. Her eyes widen in recognition, a slow, predatory smile spreading across her face. "Ava, darling," she cries, air-kissing my cheeks with exaggerated enthusiasm. It's been ages, and who's this handsome devil? I stiffen as she turns her attention to Derek, her hand lingering on his arm a bit too long for my liking. This is my husband, Derek, I say, my voice tight with barely suppressed anger. Derek, this is Sienna, an old friend from college. Sienna laughs, a tinkling sound that sets my teeth on edge. Friend? Oh, Ava, don't be so modest. We were practically sisters, weren't we? I feel a muscle twitch in my jaw as I force a smile. Something like that. Sienna's gaze rakes over me, taking in my simple black dress and sensible heels. Motherhood seems to have aged you, darling. What a pity. I bristle at the jab, but before I can retort, she turns her attention back to Derek. You know, Derek, my husband and I are always looking for a fourth for couples tennis. We should play sometime. Derek, ever the gentleman, smiles politely. That sounds lovely, Sienna. We'll have to set something up. I shoot him a warning look, but he doesn't seem to notice. Sienna just smirks, her eyes glinting with malice. Wonderful. I'll have my husband call you to arrange it. Ta-ta for now, darlings. As she saunters away, I feel a cold knot of dread settle in the pit of my stomach. Seeing Sienna again has brought back all the old feelings of hurt and betrayal, the wounds I thought I'd long since buried. Over the next few weeks, Sienna seems to be everywhere. At the grocery store, the park where I take Liam for play dates, even the gym where I go for my morning yoga classes. Each time she makes a point of seeking me out, her barbed comments and thinly veiled insults chipping away at my carefully constructed facade of happiness. Derek seems quite taken with me, she remarks one day, her tone dripping with false sympathy. I do hope history isn't repeating itself, Ava. It would be such a shame for little Liam to grow up without a father. I clench my fists at my sides, fighting the urge to slap the smug smile off her face. Derek loves me, I say through gritted teeth. He would never betray me the way Jason did. Sienna just laughs, patting my cheek condescendingly. Of course he does, darling, just like Jason loved you, right up until he didn't. I watch her walk away, my heart racing with a potent mix of fear and fury. I won't let Sienna destroy my life again. I can't. But as the weeks drag on and her taunts become more pointed, more vicious, I start to doubt myself. What if she's right? What if Derek is just biding his time, waiting for someone younger, someone more exciting to come along? The thought makes me sick to my stomach. I can't lose him. Not after everything I've been through. I won't survive another betrayal. I need to find a way to stop Sienna, to make her pay for the pain she's caused me. And this time, I won't rest until I've had my revenge. I'm at my wit's end, constantly looking over my shoulder and jumping at every phone notification, convinced it's Sienna with another thinly veiled threat. Derek can sense my unease, but I'm too ashamed to tell him the truth about my history with her. One evening, after I've put Liam to bed, Derek sits me down on the couch, his expression serious. Ava, we need to talk. I know something's been bothering you, and I want to help, but I can't do that if you won't tell me what's going on. I take a deep, shuddering breath, tears pricking at the corners of my eyes. It's Sienna, I whisper, my voice cracking. She's been tormenting me for weeks, ever since we moved here, making snide comments, showing up everywhere I go. I think she's trying to steal you away from me, like she did with Jason. Derek's eyes widen in shock, then narrow in anger. That conniving little... I knew there was something off about her. Ava, why didn't you tell me sooner? I shake my head miserably. I was too embarrassed and scared that maybe she was right, that you'd realize you could do better than me. Derek takes my face in his hands, his gaze intense. Ava, listen to me. I love you. I chose you. And nothing and no one is ever going to change that. Certainly not some two-faced snake like Sienna. I let out a choked sob, burying my face in his chest as he holds me tight. For the first time in weeks, I feel a glimmer of hope. The next day, Derek comes home from work with a determined glint in his eye. I have a plan, he announces, pulling me into his study. We're going to expose Sienna for the lying, manipulative witch she is. He outlines his idea. He'll pretend to be receptive to Sienna's advances, agreeing to meet her for drinks after work. I'll be listening in on a hidden microphone, net recording every word. Once we have proof of her true colors, we'll play the recording for her husband and anyone else who'll listen, Derek says, his jaw set. She'll be ruined. No one will ever trust her again. I hesitate, biting my lip. I don't know, Derek. It seems so underhanded, stooping to her level. He takes my hands in his expression softening. Ava, this woman has caused you nothing but pain for years. She's not going to stop until we make her. This is the only way to protect our family, to make sure she never hurts you again. I nod slowly, resolve hardening in my gut. Okay, let's do it. The night of the sting operation, I pace nervously in Derek's office, listening to the crackle of static on the earpiece. My heart pounds as I hear Sienna's voice, dripping with false sweetness. Derek, I'm so glad you agreed to meet me. I've been thinking about you constantly, ever since that fundraiser. The way you looked at me, I know you felt it too. I gripped the edge of the desk, bile rising in my throat, but I forced myself to keep listening. Ava's a nice girl, but let's be honest, she's not in our league. You need someone who can keep up with you, challenge you, someone like me. I hear the clink of ice in a glass, the rustle of fabric as she leans in closer. Why don't we get out of here? Go somewhere more private. I promise I'll make it worth your while. There's a long, tense pause, then Derek's voice, cold and cutting. You know, Sienna, I thought you were just a garden variety bitch, but now I see you're something much worse. You're pathetic. Sienna sputters in outrage, but Derek presses on. Did you really think I would ever betray Ava like that? That I'm as weak and spineless as you are? You disgust me. I hear a sharp intake of breath, then the scrape of a chair being pushed back. You'll regret this, Sienna hisses. Both of you. I don't think so, Derek says calmly. See, while we've been chatting, your husband has been listening in on every word. Somehow, I don't think he'll be too thrilled to learn what a snake he married. There's a clatter, a muffled curse, then the sound of retreating footsteps. I slump back in my chair, my whole body shaking with relief and adrenaline. Moments later, Derek bursts into the office, sweeping me into his arms. We did it, he murmurs into my hair. It's over, Ava. She can't hurt us anymore. I cling to him, tears streaming down my face. For the first time in years, I feel truly free. The fallout from our sting operation is swift and brutal. Sienna's husband files for divorce the very next day, citing irreconcilable differences. The scandal quickly spreads through the hospital grapevine, and within a week, Sienna is persona non grata among the staff. I almost feel sorry for her. Almost. But then I remember the years of torment she put me through, the way she gleefully destroyed my engagement and my friendship, and any pity I might have felt evaporates like mist. Sienna doesn't go quietly, of course. She shows up at the hospital in a rage, screaming obscenities at Derek and threatening to sue him for defamation. Security has to escort her out of the building, her designer heels dragging on the polished floors. That's when the real bombshell drops. Did you know about Sienna's heart condition? Derek asks me that evening, his expression grim. She's been hiding it for years, apparently, but her little tantrum today set off some kind of episode. She collapsed in the parking lot. I stare at him in shock, my mind reeling. Is she okay? Derek shrugs. She's stable for now, but the doctors say she needs surgery, and soon. Her husband is washing his hands of her, and her insurance won't cover the procedure. She's in a bad way, Ava. I sit down heavily on the couch, my head spinning. I think back to all the times Sienna bragged about her wild partying, her reckless behavior. It never occurred to me that she might be putting her own health at risk. A small, petty part of me wants to gloat, to revel in her misfortune, but I know that's not who I am. As much as Sienna has hurt me, I don't want to see her suffer. What can we do? I ask quietly. I mean, I know she's a horrible person, but I don't want her to die. Derek takes my hand, his eyes soft with understanding. I've already spoken to her parents. They're flying in from out of state to be with her, and I've pulled some strings with the hospital board to get her the care she needs. I nod, swallowing hard. Thank you. I know it's more than she deserves, but thank you. The next few days are a blur of activity. Sienna's parents arrive, ashen-faced with worry, and Derek and I do our best to support them as they navigate the hospital's bureaucracy. Sienna herself is uncharacteristically subdued, her usual bravado replaced by a haunted, fragile air. She refuses to see me at first, but eventually agrees to a brief visit before her surgery. I hover awkwardly in the doorway of her hospital room, taking in the beeping machines and the IV drip snaking into her arm. Sienna looks small and frail against the stark white sheets, her face pale and drawn. Ava, she rasps, her voice hoarse. I didn't think you'd come. I shrug, trying to keep my expression neutral. I didn't want to. But I'm not like you, Sienna. I don't enjoy seeing people in pain. She flinches at that, her eyes filling with tears. I'm sorry, she whispers, for everything. I know it's too little, too late, but I'm sorry. I stare at her for a long moment, searching for any hint of deception or manipulation, but all I see is genuine remorse and a deep, aching sadness. I forgive you, I say softly, surprising myself. Not for you, but for me. I'm done letting you have power over me, Sienna. I'm done living in the past. She nods, a single tear slipping down her cheek. I hope you have a good life, Ava. A happy one. You deserve it. I leave her room feeling strangely light, as if a weight has been lifted from my shoulders. I know Sienna and I will never be friends again, but for the first time in years, I feel like I can breathe. Derek is waiting for me in the hallway, his arms open and inviting. I fall into his embrace, letting his strength and love wash over me. Let's go home, I murmur into his chest. I'm ready to start living again. Sienna's surgery is a success, but her recovery is long and difficult. Her parents take her back to their hometown to recuperate, and for a while it seems like she's finally out of our lives for good. But then, about a year later, I get a call from her mother. Ava, I know you and Sienna have had your differences, she says hesitantly, but I was hoping you might be willing to talk to her. She's been struggling since the surgery, and I think it would do her good to make amends. I'm tempted to refuse, to tell her that Sienna is no longer my problem, but something in her mother's voice gives me pause. She sounds tired, worn down by the weight of her daughter's mistakes. Okay, I say finally. I'll talk to her, but I'm not making any promises. A few days later, Sienna shows up at my door, looking nothing like the glamorous, confident woman I once knew. She's thinner, her hair limp, and her eyes haunted. Can I come in? She asks, her voice small. I step aside wordlessly, letting her pass. We settle awkwardly in the living room, Liam's toys scattered across the floor. I'm sorry for just showing up like this, Sienna begins, twisting her hands in her lap. But I needed to see you, to apologize in person. I stay silent, waiting for her to continue. I've been doing a lot of thinking since the surgery, she says slowly, about the person I was, the things I did, and I'm ashamed, Ava. I'm so ashamed. She takes a deep, shuddering breath. I was jealous of you, always. You had everything I wanted, the perfect boyfriend, the loving family, the bright future, and I couldn't stand it, so I did everything I could to tear you down, to make you feel as miserable as I did. I feel a flicker of sympathy, but I tamp it down. That's no excuse, Sienna. You hurt me deeply. You betrayed our friendship in the worst possible way. She nods, tears spilling down her cheeks. I know, and I'll regret it for the rest of my life. But I'm trying to be better, Ava. I'm trying to make things right. She reaches into her purse and pulls out an envelope. This is for you. My parents forced me to get a job at their company, to pay them back for all the money I've borrowed over the years. It's not much, but it's a start. I open the envelope cautiously, my eyes widening at the sight of the check inside. It's enough to cover a good chunk of the wedding expenses Sienna saddled my parents with all those years ago. I don't expect you to forgive me, Sienna says quietly, but I hope someday you can find it in your heart to give me another chance, to let me prove that I've changed. I stare at her for a long moment, conflicting emotions warring in my chest. Part of me wants to hold on to the anger, the bitterness, but another part of me knows that holding on to the past will only poison my future. Okay, I say finally. I can't promise we'll ever be friends again, Sienna, but I'm willing to try, to give you a chance to make amends. She nods, a tentative smile breaking across her face. Thank you, Ava. You have no idea how much that means to me. After she leaves, I sit in the living room for a long time, turning the check over in my hands. It feels like a weight has been lifted from my shoulders, a burden I didn't even realize I was carrying. Derek finds me there, Liam balanced on his hip. Everything okay? He asks, his brow furrowed with concern. I smile up at him, my heart full of love and gratitude. Everything's perfect, I say softly. I have you, and Liam, and a future I never thought I'd get to have. Sienna's mistakes don't define me anymore. I'm free. He leans down to kiss me, Liam giggling between us. And as I sit there with my little family, I know that whatever challenges life throws our way, we'll face them together. Stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever before.